You need to get into the curious phase. What do I like? What do I need? What do I want? Because you can lose yourself in the care portion of things. And then when that's over, you now have a curious phase. You need to say, okay, this is who I am now. What does this me want? What fills my cup now? So I pushed for the palliative because I thought that's what was best for her. And the doctor came to do his first home visit and said, oh, you're way better than I thought you'd be. You just have oxygen starvation, he said. Let me give you some morphine. That will really help you to breathe. So he gave her a needle, and it was like 10 in the morning. And she had the best day she'd ever had. It was almost like she was drunk. She was happy. And then about a year in, she had a mini stroke.
Oh.
So we decided to build an addition on our home with a unit for them. And we sold that home and moved them into my living room and dining room while this was being built. And she actually passed away during construction.
Oh.
Yeah, we thought we'd have her for many, many years. And it didn't work.
Hi, everyone. I'm back again with another Sandwich Years. And so for those of you who are watching for the first time, Sandwich Years is when you're taking care of the top bun, which is potentially an elder of some sort, your parents, maybe in-laws, maybe even aunts, uncles, and then could potentially also be your siblings that are older than you. And then also if you're taking care of the bottom bun, and the bottom bun can be your children, can be nieces, nephew, any sorts of youth that depends on you, and then also fur babies as well, because to be quite honest, you can't leave them either. And so you're in the middle, and it's referred to as the sandwich generation, but basically you are squeezed and blessed because you are in the middle, because you have a top bun and a bottom bun. And even after those buns might pass or leave your life for some reason, you're still in the sandwich years because you're dealing with all of the chaos or anything that's been left behind for you to deal with. And so today I have a friend with me, and my friend's name is Karen.
Hey,
Hi,
Chantal.
Karen.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, Karen. And so this has been a long-awaited podcast. And ideally, Karen, if you can tell everybody who you are, who's squeezing and blessing you, and then we'll start talking a little bit about it. So tell everyone.
Cool. So my name is Karen, and I have owned my own business for over 30 years. I am squeezed and blessed to work with both my daughters. On most days, it's the best thing ever. And it's worth it for the days that aren't, Okay. I love to be involved with them both every day. It's a great thing. I love to squeeze my grandbabies. So I have 3 grandchildren right now and 2 more on the way for next year. Wow. Yeah, it's going to be a very busy time. So I have a 15-year-old granddaughter, 6-year-old grandson, and 4-year-old granddaughter.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, so is it true, though, being a grandparent is like one of the best things ever?
The best job I've ever had. Like, if I could do only that, I would be so happy.
I don't know how that works. No. I guess we could just adopt grandkids. But yes, you kind of have to have the kids first, but you could adopt it. We'll talk about that later.
I've had adopted grandkids before, that you just, if they don't have a grandparent, I'm there for them too.
Oh, you're the best.
Everybody needs one, and the joy they bring. That is what lights me up the most, is spending time with my littles, for sure.
Oh, I love that. Okay, the littles. Okay, so we've got 2 kids or 3 kids?
I have 3 kids.
3 kids. 3 grandkids.
Yeah, almost 5.
And then what about our parents? Are they still around? Are they not around?
So I do have parents. Okay. I've never been super close with either of my parents. I left the house really early. I was a very young mom, like way too young to be a mom. But all I ever wanted to do was be a parent. Like, I was just so excited to be somebody's mom. We were so close that it was detrimental to us both, I think. But I just loved her so much, and I
was gonna say, were you like what is that show? Rory and
like the Gilmore Girls.
Were you like the Gilmore Girls? Is that real?
Similar.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, it was in a not good marriage. Okay. I tried really hard. I always thought that you're married for life, and I must be doing something wrong if he's not happy. Yeah. And I became very isolated. I let myself become very isolated from the whole world. And it wasn't until I began networking with my business that I met and talked with other women in community and realized, whoa, like me having this business for all these years, like that means something. This is a really cool thing, and really learned my true value.
Okay. So let's talk about running a business and being in the sandwich generation. Because I'll be honest, it's a lot. Because now it's a lot working period, because you can be corporate and working for yourself, but sometimes working for yourself allows for some flexibility.
So the tricky part in my situation was, I run a cleaning business. We did carpet and duct cleaning, that kind of thing. So I would book the jobs and he would go clean. My husband would go clean. So it was our business. And if I didn't work and get those jobs back before there was any email or internet or anything, if I didn't phone the people and book the jobs, he didn't go to work and we didn't then have income. So when his dad fell ill and I began to care for him, the business suffered because I wasn't making the calls. And you don't see that in business right away. But after he'd passed and I'd gone through all that, which was my first death experience, so it weighed pretty heavily on me. Then all of a sudden it's like, where's the business? It's like, oh yeah, you haven't been working, so maybe that's why.
So you touched on a lot of things there. Okay, so for one, for business in general, obviously it's you get customers, you cultivate them, and the sales come in later because they normally just don't come right away. Yeah. That's one thing. Secondly, you mentioned you were taking care of your in-law.
Yes.
And so that's many cases out there where you have, when you're in a marriage, you have your parents, but then you also have their parents. Yes. And to be quite honest, sometimes they become like your parents because they're almost like an extension of the family as well. And so when your father-in-law was not well, do you mind saying what he had?
He had prostate cancer.
Okay. And so did he catch it late?
Yes.
Which is normally the case for many. And I say it that way because that's what happened with my dad as well. And so one of the key lessons in here is making sure that people get tested right away. Regularly, and stuff like that. Because prostate cancer is something that you could watch through time and actually take care of if it's caught early.
Right.
And so he didn't catch it early, I'm assuming.
Didn't catch it early. And he was a bit of a stubborn man. And, I wouldn't say they were parents to me. I don't think that they super liked me for very many years. I didn't fit into the proper European woman category. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because there was a lot of dysfunction in that family before I came along. But I was naive and didn't know that. I, at the time, thought, abuse meant that hands-on. I didn't realize that the words were abuse. So it happens so gradually that you don't realize. So I knew they were dysfunctional. However, I had a super great relationship with my grandmother, and my parents didn't really have an interest in my kids. But my kids were everything to them. They were amazing grandparents to my children, and that's all that mattered.
That's your in-laws. Oh, so I think a couple episodes we talked about the in-law relationship is a very tricky one. Very tricky one for the person who you're the in-law getting married into the family, because I think a lot of the times people are like, who are you, and what role are you going to play here?
You're going to marry my son.
But and to be quite honest, roles get reversed when you have your own kids, right? Yes. And so I'm like, I always joke around and say, I think I got my mother-in-law's handbook ready for when my kids are ready to. But it's a change in dynamic.
Yes.
And so, nobody is ready for change. Nobody likes change.
Yes.
And so then you have to now determine, my son must love you or my daughter must love you. I have to love you now. That's not normally the case.
No.
But then when it comes to caregiving, you cared for him primarily because they were really good.
He needed care.
Okay.
And I was able to do it. And
nice.
Nobody else in the family was able or willing to do it.
Okay.
And he needed it, and I felt because he'd been such a good grandpa, he was not the best dad, but he was a great grandpa to my kids, which is what affected me. So I felt he deserved it.
Nice.
And, a lot of people questioned that in me, but I did it because he was so great to my kids.
Yeah, and also because of the person you are.
Yeah, I
and
suppose.
so and caregivers are different breeds, and we just do. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the time too, when we say the caregiver definition, because I had a conversation with a friend and they're like, when you say caregiving, it makes me think that it's PSWs. And I was like, well, no, because guess what? You're in a role where you're giving care. So you're a caregiver,
Yes,
to be quite
whether
honest.
It's personal care, mental care.
Yeah. And it normally is something that either you're thrusted into because you have to do it, but you really don't have to do anything.
No.
And
don't.
So it has to be something that's in you already to be like, I care for you. For one, you care for my kids. Of course I'm going to care for you. And the other part is the kids are watching.
That's right.
Kids are watching.
That's
and the
right.
fact that you love them, they love you. Mm-hmm. So with him having prostate cancer, with the care that you had to give, what were you did you have to navigate like the travel system for him to take treatments and all of that? Like, what kind of things did you have to kind of put in place?
Well, that was when I first learned about our hospital system and how you don't want to leave your loved one in a hospital by themselves. I assumed if they're in the hospital, they would have great care. I learned very quickly there's just not enough people to care for how many people there are that are sick, So there was a lot of navigation there. I used to go with him on the transport buses down for treatments and things like that and and sit beside him. So, if he was sick, I'd get the bag. If he needed a sip of something, I'd get him a sip, He'd say, oh, I'm starving. I feel like I want this food. And I'd go get the food to bring to him, which he couldn't eat, all those kind of things. I didn't want him to go through that alone.
Yeah.
So I accompanied him to all those things. And then when it got really bad, they didn't want to keep him in the hospital and they sent him home. And, and here's these little vials and needles, give him morphine injections into his stomach. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, who am I to give an injection? I don't know what I'm doing,
So did you actually look for, a couple things there's the companionship, but there's also the system of the hospital and having an elderly go there. So one of the things for my dad used to go for his treatments on his own because he could do it. At a certain point, I got a phone call saying, hey, he can't come by himself anymore because he's either getting restless, tired, or anxious. He kept going to the counter to say, is it my turn yet? Is it my turn yet? And they're like, we can't do this anymore. And so there was a period of time where someone always had to go.
Yes.
And so I learned later that you could hire people to go. Not to say that
I wouldn't have known that at the time.
But
they send him home and they give him, I think it was 10 hours per week with a PSW.
Yeah.
There's a lot more hours in a week than 10.
And so there are people that you can hire to do that companionship, especially if you're working. Not to say that that's something you have, and that obviously is money. But if you have to take that break or need, or you have to schedule it with your family, because that's another piece. If there are other able bodies and hands that can do it. When it was time where he was in a wheelchair, it was very tricky because we couldn't just put him in the car.
Right.
And you had to kind of figure that navigation out. But I guess one of the things, and what Sandwich Years is supposed to be about, is sharing the knowledge and going through
the resources.
Exactly. So when you're going through it, you didn't know all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
You just knew he had to get there, and you're just trying to get him there.
And that I wanted him to be in less pain. And if that meant I had to give him a needle to do so, that's what I had to do, even though it was terrifying and didn't make any sense. But that's
and would have been and it would have been a lot for you as well to give a needle. You're not a nurse.
No, not at all. I was a mother and I ran a business. Like, I wasn't a nurse.
You weren't a nurse.
Didn't make any sense.
And so with that said, you had to make some calls from a business perspective is what I'm also understanding too. That was the other piece that you sort of said, where I had to stop calling because I needed to take care. But when I stopped calling, that means there's less business. So that, how do I say that? That's the squeezed part.
Oh, so squeezed.
And then the guilt
Oh, and the guilt, because, I felt that I couldn't leave them alone because my mother-in-law and father-in-law didn't get along very well. And so he got pretty mean to her at the end, not ever in front of me, of course, but I know when they were alone. And she at the time had an infection in her leg. She had cellulitis and was getting at-home injections for it with a nurse. So we had lots of nurses coming and going. But she couldn't care for him. It was to the point where he thought if she brought him a tea that she'd poisoned it and things like that. So I had to be there to keep her mental health safe too. So here I am commuting, and then I'd pay the PSWs a little extra to stay overnight so I could go home to my son's birthday party and that kind of thing. It was a very, very squeezed time. But then after he passed, it was more shocking to me because, like, how is the world just going on? Like, he's gone now. And nobody really touches on that.
Okay. So he passes before mom.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so with that, you had to clean up a bunch of stuff as well.
Well,
and then
that night I went home.
He passed in the house?
In his house.
Oh.
And I went home that night, and lived my life, my sad life after that, because I was so sad to lose him, because that felt like the most important job I'd ever done. And then we moved my mother-in-law, out closer to us, so it would be easier, because we
in a house or in a home?
In a house.
Okay.
She was fine, and we bought her a house close by, and she also had her son. So there were two boys, my ex-husband, and then they had a mentally challenged son who was also a kidney transplant recipient. Grown up at the time and stuff, but he, before the transplant, he used to go downtown and get the dialysis all the time and stuff. So
on his own, he was able to.
He could take the bus there and back. Yeah, he was limited. We figure he's about a 10 to 12-year-old.
Okay.
Eternally. So we moved them both out, but then he went through his own grief, I guess, because it was dysfunctional of a family, and the dad had the foot down. Now there's no dad anymore. So he really found his voice, let me tell you, and started giving mom a real hard time, so we navigated all of that. And then about a year in, she had a mini stroke.
Oh.
So we decided to build an addition on our home with a unit for them. And we sold that home and moved them into my living room and dining room while this was being built. And she actually passed away during construction.
Oh.
Yeah, we thought we'd have her for many, many years. And it didn't work out that way.
But you were bringing her home. Like you weren't going to. So did you actually ever consider putting her in a home?
No.
Why?
She never would have wanted that.
Okay.
And we had the ability to care for her there.
Okay.
We thought she'd be okay. We didn't realize that it would happen that quickly, I actually pushed really hard to get her on the Palliative rouster because she was on the oxygen machine, and it was very difficult to transport her to appointments with the portable oxygen and stuff like that. So if you get them on a palliative list, the doctor comes to the house.
Oh, okay. Whoa, rewind this. Okay. Yeah. So she needed oxygen treatment.
Yes.
What did she have?
She have a congestive heart failure caused by her diabetes, was what she ended up being diagnosed with after the mini stroke.
Oh, Mom.
But it took a long time for her to be on the oxygen. Like, she moved in before the oxygen, but then she struggled so much to breathe that I kept pushing, and we ended up having a machine that generated the oxygen in the house.
Okay.
And then portable to go to doctor's appointments and things like that.
Okay. So there is a system, because I think you just said something where you can get on a list.
Yes.
And it's a palliative list.
Palliative care. So that they call it end of life care, but it could be years of end of life care. It doesn't mean that your end of life is within the next month or two. It could be a long time.
Okay.
But the point is that the doctor comes to the house then to see her if there's a concern, instead of having to haul her out to go to appointments.
So how do you get on a palliative list?
A doctor has to put you on
and
it.
they recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this could be your family doctor and things like that. So you don't necessarily have to go to the hospital for that.
No.
You can actually, when your doctor says, hey, can you get her on a list so that it can actually support her living right now?
Yes.
Because that's what palliative care is. It's about supporting you as you go through your end of life.
That's right. However long that is.
Okay.
There's no
and
way
so you can,
to know.
and that's also when the doctor has said, this is terminal.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes.
And that's when you're like, okay, if you do that, we can have home care.
Yes.
We'll have home care, but can you bring all the assistance here so that we don't actually have to bring it and put heavy weighting on the hospital system as well?
Exactly. It's so much easier to have them cared for at home.
Okay.
For them, you know?
Well, and everyone is very different, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of figure out the and I think with help from the doctor is going to say what makes sense. And so I think that's another key thing to understand is what makes sense for your elderly loved one.
Well, and you're
if you have the
really
space
only
to.
doing the best you can in making these decisions, because how do you know? Every case is very different, you know? So I pushed for the palliative because I thought that's what was best for her. And the doctor came to do his first home visit and said, you know, oh, you're way better than I thought you'd be. You just have oxygen starvation, he said. Let me give you some morphine. That will really help you to breathe. So he gave her a needle, and it was like 10 in the morning, and she had the best day she'd ever had. You know, it was almost like she was drunk, because she was happy and positive. She was saying nice things to the children. It was like a very different grandma, you know. And in
Happy
the
grandma.
evening, I was telling the boys, my son and the neighbor, you know, oh, you're too loud playing your Monopoly game. Keep it down. And she came in and she says, they can make all the noise they want, you know. And I thought, who are you?
Give her more.
Yeah.
No joke.
No, but then that night, my brother-in-law came and knocked on her door at 1 a.m. and she died. That night.
That was the burst of life. Because I've heard of that too.
I never had until then, you know.
Yeah, there's a thing called a burst of life where everything seems good and
you feel this hope that they're getting better.
Yeah. I say that emotionally because that was one of the best conversations I've had with my mom before she passed away. She was asking me how I was, and I was sitting there going, "You're the one in the hospital," and she's like, "How are you? Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And that was the last conversation. But there's that burst of life, and
yes,
I think it's a blessing.
Absolutely,
and
it was a blessing.
and that blessing comes in a very strange form that you reflect on later on to be like, wow. Like everything came together for them. So
I did question myself though after, you know, like, was that the right call? Should I have let him give her the morphine? Like all those kind of things you question yourself. And that's where I wish there was a sandwich ears at the time. So you had a community that you could reach out to discuss these things.
Yeah.
Because it was very isolating.
Yeah, very, very isolating. So, okay. So we talked about your top ones. Our littles, we talked about our littles and they bring us joy. What do you do for self-care?
Oh, so for self-care, I've learned that a lot of this stuff I still store in my body. So I do somatic yoga now to work on myself and meditation.
Okay.
And be part of a community and lean on my best friend and, you know, get out when I need to and whatever pretty much I need in the moment.
And so this is something that you said earlier too, was community.
Yes.
And I think one of the things from being in the sandwich years is very lonely because you're caring and you're not even actually looking after yourself. But there is a community out there that might be right for you and you have to find it. I'm not saying find best friends. You don't need to find best friends. What you need to do is surround yourself with people that make you happy.
Yes, positive people. And just attend places or events. Just check it out. And then you'll find your community. You'll know the minute you find them.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that they're replacing anybody else in your it's just making it a bigger community.
Yes.
And they have a purpose. And their purpose is to make you feel good in the moment.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily, as I said, best friends. You don't need new best friends or you don't need best friends. You need to actually figure out what makes you happy.
That's right.
And so if it's a matter of going to a movie or going to a social where you're having different foods or doing different things. Or
having grandkids sleep over, whatever it is that fills your soul, fills your cup. I can't tell this to my daughters enough. Like, fill your own cup. Don't expect your husband to fill your cup for you. Like, that's not his job. You need to fill your own cup and then come to the table with a full cup.
Okay. So, period, regardless, husband, wife, whatever, you fill your own cup first before you can actually serve tea.
Yes, there you go.
There you go. So, okay. So, other lesson, grandkids are awesome. So we get grandkids to get to do that piece. We find community.
Yes.
And then, so even from a business perspective as well, there's business community friends as well that you might have. So you'll figure out that your community consists of multiple people with multiple roles. You have to keep your head on. You have to figure out who you can trust, who you can't trust, all of those elements. But that will be a piece of your self-care.
Absolutely. Yep.
You try different activities. So you like the yoga.
Yep.
It works for you.
Yep.
Note, I like Aquafit.
I love Aquafit too.
And so I love the people that are there. I love going. I haven't gone for a full year, but I go because it actually is really good on your body. I feel like I'm playing in water instead of actually working out.
It's a lot easier and less strain on your joints
Exactly.
to be doing it in the water.
And I feel I can do things that I typically, and then also when I do aqua, not aerobics. There's one with music. I'm like, sometimes they'll show us a routine. Yeah, it's aqua Zumba. And I'll be honest, I'll be going in this direction while everybody's going in this direction, but I'm having a blast.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
And it looks like a choreographed routine.
Yeah.
As long as the water is splashing, it's great. I do make sure my hair is covered, but I am definitely having fun. But that's it. You gotta try something to like it.
Yes.
And I had a friend, they told her about Aquafit. She now goes and she's like, this is phenomenal. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, you're still very young to be doing Aquafit. I was like, no, it's actually quite fun. So find something.
Yes.
Try a multitude. And that's literally what I did, was try a multitude of things. And also be honest with yourself if you don't like it.
Yes. Well, and it's a curious phase. You need to get into the curious phase. What do I like? What do I need? What do I want? Because you can lose yourself in the care portion of things. And then when that's over, you now have a curious phase. You need to say, okay, this is who I am now. What does this me want? What fills my cup now? It may be different.
And what does this me want? I think you said. What does this me want? So your me will change.
Many times. Many times.
And through the sandwich years, it totally will change a multitude of times.
Yes.
And so you kind of have to figure out what your new me is. I love that. I love that. So anybody in the sandwich years, what advice would you give them based on your story? What was the best thing that you were able to do, or two things that you were able to do that you would give somebody who has a story similar to yours?
First of all, don't be afraid to advocate. A lot of people are afraid to use their voice with the big people like the doctors, Use your voice and fight for what you believe is right for your people.
Ask questions.
Yes, ask questions and push them a little bit to get what you feel you need is super important. And to find that time for self-care, whether that's locking yourself in the bathroom for half an hour and having a bath, or saying, honey, I'm going to Tim Hortons and go grab a coffee or hot chocolate and just sit for half an hour by yourself. Some people, it's a walk in nature or an Aquafit. Like, find whatever it is for you and make the time to do that. Nobody's, you can spare 30 minutes. There is enough time. Okay. I always thought there's not enough time. I have to do this. I have to do that. My whole life was that. And then you get so run down. There is time for you to take 30 minutes.
Okay. And do you schedule time for yourself?
Like I said, I'm self-employed and I work with my daughters. So sometimes that's babysitting the kids or whatever. But, we have staff, and sometimes staff calls in sick. There is no schedule. There's no routine, if you will.
No. Well, because a lot of us look for that magic work, like that magic thing. So that's why I was like, do you schedule it? Do you not schedule it? And sometimes adding schedule onto gets more stress.
It can be. And then it's another thing you didn't do. So something I do now that we were talking about earlier is I record now the things I've done. Instead of writing a list of things I must do, I record the things I've done and the cool things that have happened in life, rather than, adding stress to myself.
So I hear reflection. Reflection's huge as well, because you are accomplishing a lot. You just maybe sometimes don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you for first and foremost your podcast. But for some of you that may not know, Karen is also an advisor on the program as well, and so she's been helping out tremendously in the background. And so very happy that you were able to share your story today. But then also very happy for your support because this is very important to me, and I know it is very important to you. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me help you to get this out.
Awesome. Thank you. See you next time. Comment below, or also if you want to hear from Karen again, just send us a message, support@sandwichyears.ca, and we'll have her out along with any other guest. And also, if you'd like to tell your story, don't hesitate to reach out. So support@sandwichyears.ca. Send us an email and we'll get you out here. Take care.